Give me a minute. I want to respond to Ace's High's comment here, in which he says a revolution in Russia would be a win for both Ukraine and Russians. The Russians could choose to be heroes. This could be easier than a war. And I want to address this comment because this keeps coming up in the comments. How much more can the Russians take, right? Moscow, thousands of Muscovites are out of their apartments in shelters because there's no heat, because the people at the top have stolen everything and they don't do the maintenance. And so you get this nightmare before God right here. Guys, here's the thing. The Russians aren't like us. The culture isn't like ours. The Russian people 200 years ago didn't become revolutionaries and rebel against a crown that refused to acknowledge that all men are created equal. They didn't found a society on that premise. They didn't then fight again for it when some of them decided that some people aren't really people, right, 100 years later, and went through that nightmare of a fight. And then 100 years after that, when some people in Europe decided that not everybody is equal, that some people are better than others. We came to the aid of our allies in Europe to put down that obscene notion that there was a master race when there's only one race, the human race. We fought for it. Every 100 years, we've had to fight for this notion, to expand this notion that all are created equal and entitled to equal protection under the law. What's been Russian history for the last 600 years? For 500 years, right, the oligarchs, the people who are the oligarchs in Russia today are the very same people who brought you 500 years of serfdom. That they own Russia, and that means they own the people in it. And the peasantry are owned by the aristocracy, and the peasants better know it. And then after 500 years of that nightmare, you had 80 years of the Soviet regime, the most evil experiment in engineering humans and society that has ever been. And then you had 30 years of Putin's gangland authoritarian repression, where and for all of this, for 610 years, if you stuck your head up, if you raised your voice, if you dared to stand up, what did they do? They threw you out a window. The Russian people are not going to rebel. As Stalin said, the Russian people are like a chicken that you can pluck until it bleeds, then you throw them a little corn and they'll follow you. They've been bred to be subservient. They talk a big game, but they have no will of their own. It's been sapped from them. The culture has been denied it. And having a VPN that peers into the Western world is not enough to inculcate that spirit of revolution. It's just not. Now, could the Russians turn into a mob with torches and pitchforks over shit like this and not being able to afford eggs? They could do that because they've done that before. You know, it's important to recognize that there's about 1,400 people in Russia that own 90% of Russia's wealth. There's a reason that 1 in 5 Russians don't have indoor plumbing. It's because the people at the top have kept a hold of all the means of wealth generation that there are in the society, and they have intentionally kept everybody else poor because they believe that those people are not people, that they are a resource to be exploited. This is why we always get Russia wrong, why we think we can draw up treaties with the thieves in charge. You can't draw up treaties with these people. They're never going to keep their word. We've seen it over and over and over again. How long is it going to take for us to realize that Russia needs a psychological shock to come into the age of the Enlightenment finally? They need to be thoroughly defeated, just like the Nazis, just like the Japanese. And then their education system needs to be reformatted to inculcate creative thinking, imagination, a sense of individuality again, because it's been bred and beaten out of them. So as much as I would like Aces High to think that a revolution is coming inside Russia, I don't see it. In fact, what I see in the wake of the attacks on Belgorod are calls from the people for more support for the war, right? Because now the threat that they've been preaching, that, oh, poor Russia, we're the victim, we're under attack from the West, now the people are seeing it. They're seeing themselves attacked, and now they believe the lie. I mean, exactly the opposite of what you want. So look, this is my opinion. It's just like with the trolls, right? Right now we're in the middle of the Starve the Trolls campaign. Don't respond to troll comments, downvote troll comments. Do not feed them. The more you engage with them, the more they get paid. Starve them. Delete their comments if you're a creator. Do not engage with them if you are a consumer. And the same thing should be true of our relationship with Russia. Do not engage. The fact is that the Russian government is so badly incompetent that they are making so many mistakes that what we're witnessing is a societal suicide. If we just stay out of it and just give the Ukrainians support, Russia will burst at the seams because of the incompetence and lies of the dictator and the dictator's henchmen. That's the future. Stay out of it. No calls for boots on the ground. We don't need that. Give the Ukrainians the weapons that they need, and they will handle this. I have every confidence in them. They understand Russia. Let them defeat Russia and let them secure their future in the face of an enemy who treats its own people like this.